Hello, Women of the Channel Leadership Network. I'm Jackie Rives, your community leader, and welcome to another Woman of the Week. This week, I'm pretty excited to introduce you to Cristina Carretero, Director of Global Partner Marketing with Lastpass. And I laugh because she said I introduced her perfect at Women of the Channel West. So no pressure whatsoever. Hi, Cristina. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and with the rest of the community.
Well, I am really excited to get some time with you and get to know you a little more and celebrate you this week. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I live in Austin, Texas. I've been here for about 20 years. It's the city I've lived in the longest. So when people ask, I'm like, I'm totally an Austinite. But I'm originally from Spain, which is usually something that not most people know. So I transitioned always between being an American and also being a Spaniard since I was little, which is always throws people off because I don't have an accent. So I know that that's funky.
I mean, it surprised me, and I think it's very cool too. So I'm excited to learn, just from your growing up to Spain and why you made the move to the US.
Yeah, sure. So my mom is from New York, so I always had that like kind of like New Yorker side, East Coast American. And my dad is from the south of Spain, so flamboyant, super, happy, sun oriented, all these things. And so I always kind of lived between these two worlds. We spent summers in the US and obviously the whole rest of the time in Spain. And it's always interesting to me because I felt like I never belonged in either world. Like when I was in Spain, I was always the Americana, the American girl. And it was cool because it was different. And then when I came here, it was always the Spanish girl. And so I was like, well, but I'm the American girl. So I was always confused as a kid, and felt like I didn't belong in either place. So I feel like that shaped up my personality because I was kind of quiet. I was, shy. I didn't know what people were going to think of me. And so it created some kind of chaos in my life that I sorted out when I came into the workforce. So yeah, it's definitely been interesting. It's fun to be able to know two languages though.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally jealous of that. I'm always so envious when people can speak multiple languages. I think I took 4 or 5 years of French in school, and sharpening my pencil is about the most fluent sentence that I can still say, which is really sad. But that is a really cool background, and I can totally see how that would be challenging and also shape probably the leader that you are today. Let's maybe dive into some of your career and tell us about your career path and how you reached the position that you're in today.
Yeah. I originally wanted to be a doctor, so obviously that didn't happen. I learned very quickly when I was in college that I did not have the stomach for that. So I went I studied business and marketing, got my MBA, and I started working at an agency as I've always liked working with people and they needed somebody who was fully bilingual. This was in Madrid. And so, I started working with this team that was all British. So I sharpened my British skills and was like, hey, now I can have that on my hat too. And it was a lot of fun. But then I kind of missed being in the US. So I studied in the US and then I went back home. So I came back and that's how I landed in Austin. I had family here, and I worked for IBM. So that really shaped up my career. I was able to do pretty much everything that a marketer could do in their life, like campaigns and product marketing. Like I just did everything except PR, which is the only thing I've never touched. So I feel like that was kind of my university. And I'm one of those people that love doing new things because I get bored easily. So I feel like my managers throughout the years were like, oh, this is a new project. Nobody knows how to do it. It's got new tools. We'll put Cristina on it. So then I had to teach everybody how to do these things. And so I feel like I wasn't planning on going into leadership, but my leadership started with mentoring. So mentoring new team members and getting people onboarded and how do you do this and how do you do that? And I was always like, this is how they're going to tell you to do it, but there's a more efficient way. And so then I would tell them all these little tips and tricks. And so it kind of became known that I was the onboarding person. So that's how I got into team lead. And then from there, of course, my management career somewhat grew.
So, what kind of, I'm glad that you brought up the leadership because I kind of want to dive more into that. And what kind of made you want to be in a leadership position?
Yeah, so that team lead thing, I can't tell you how inadequate I felt. I was like, why am I the one that's supposed to lead all these people to do things? Like, I don't know what to do. I've never, had management training. And I went to the women, what do they call that? Is Texas Women Conference, I think it is. And then Brene Brown was one of the
Mm.
keynote speakers. I don't know if you've ever attended one of her sessions or at least, heard an online one, but she was talking about women and imposter syndrome and how leading we needed to be vulnerable and be okay with it. So like all of these things started resonating. I'm like, that's exactly how I feel. So I was being the nerd I am. I went and I got all of her books and I read them all. And I was like, all right, that's it. I'm doing this.
I
And so
love it.
little by little, I think I grew with myself. I've had really good leaders in my life. Not, I mean, at home, right? My mom, my grandma is a lot of entrepreneurs. So I feel like as like if they can do it, I can do it. And then I also had some really terrible managers, toxic environments, and so I was like, I want to be the leader of the people. Sounds political. But I want to be the leader that the person that I'm leading needs. And so I wish I would have had that in some
Mm.
managers. So I've kind of done that. My style is, do you need micromanagement? I can do that. If I don't like it, but I'll do it if that's what you need hand holding. But if you're, seasoned and you know what you're doing, then I'll provide you some guidance and then just let you go. And so I feel like within the years, I've tried to find what do people need from me, and just tailor it to them. And I'm happy being that way because I'm super flexible. So that's kind of how I I got there, but it was definitely not something that I was looking for at all.
Yeah, but you're also super vulnerable about your own journey, which I think is such an admirable characteristic of a leader is being vulnerable and saying like, "Hey, yeah, I know what you're feeling. I've been there and this is, and making sure that people know that, they're not alone in some of their experiences and feelings as they're growing in their positions. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So I love this question. I sometimes I feel like I'm going to run out of a new answer, but every woman does not disappoint. I always get some new tips and tricks. So, what do you do to protect or create that work life? We'll say balance, but we know it's not balance. It's your balance. What do you do to create that?
It's yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like at least I'm a global role right now. Um and it's been really hard at first when I was like brand new at Lastpass. I'm like, I want to be there for everything and everyone. And you're trying to make that impact. And I have team in EMEA, I have the team in APAC. And so I was getting really early morning calls, but then I had also the really late calls. And so during the day, I was like, oh no, I still have 3 more calls, 7, 8 p.m. So one of the things that I've done is protect my calendar. I know it sounds dumb, but lunch is listed in there. It's 30 minutes. I may move it up or down depending on a need, but lunch is there and I actually will step away from my desk. Because I was terrible at IBM and we would always be eating. I'd be eating in meetings and then I felt like I was never really, I took a break. So I've been really good at go, make myself something to eat, I eat it and I come back. And things like that. And so also if I'm going to have a ton of meetings with APEC in the evening for me, that means I'll take a break during the day. Maybe I'll go take a walk, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if someone needs a one-on-one, I'll be like, all right, but you're going to walk around the block with me. And so I feel like that has helped me still be available for all the team members everywhere because I don't want anybody to be, felt left out just out of time difference. But it also gives me the time to also break away because it's very, very easy to burn the candle from both sides.
Yes. I totally agree. Those are some really good tips. I can relate to the lunch calendar, and I was kind of laughing because I was like, "Oh yeah, mine gets moved a lot too." But unlike you, I'm not very good about like it's more of for me to eat. But I'm gonna take your tip and I'm making it in the kitchen. Might as well sit in the kitchen, take a brain break, and not try to like shove food down my throat
Yeah.
in the middle of a meeting or doing emails or whatever. You're right. We have to invest in ourselves and give ourselves those
Even if it's
breaks.
a 15-minute lunch instead of like a whole 30
Yeah.
minutes, but it's just the time away from the computer. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard when you were saying it. That's what I was hearing. So thank you for that. Christina, it was so great getting to know you. These interviews go by so fast, and there's so much more I want to learn, but we have plenty of time in our community. So thank you again for allowing us to celebrate you as our Woman of the Week.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, community members, there you have it. Please comment, give Christina your high five, share your tips. I'm sure she would love to hear them. Until next time, happy Wednesday.